So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about our expectations of sleep, what we think we should be getting or what we should be doing in terms of being able to get a good night's sleep. So I'd like you to grab your notepad and pen or paper and pencil and pause this video and take a few minutes to write down what you think you need to do, what you do maybe to make sure that you get sleep. What you think needs to happen and what you should be getting in terms of sleep. So have a go, just take a couple of minutes, write those things down, and then hit play again. Okay, so when we think about sleep, we often think about we're a good sleeper if we fall asleep as soon as our heads hit the pillow, if we get exactly 8 hours every night, and we wake up bouncy and jump out of bed as soon as our alarms go off. We also think about that we need unbroken sleep. So getting up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet is not okay. And that means we've not had a good night's sleep. We also think that it doesn't matter when we sleep, what time of day it matters, the time of day doesn't matter. So for example, we might think that we can go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and get 8 hours, and then that's fine, and we'll be well rested. And we also think that we can catch up on sleep over a period. So a lot of these things aren't always necessarily true. So to start off with, falling asleep as soon as our heads hit the pillow is a really good indicator that you're exhausted and that you need more sleep. It should take us between 10 to 20 minutes to fall asleep. And so if you're lying there for a little bit and then you fall asleep, that's fine. That is normal, and that's what should happen. If you're lying there for more than 20 minutes to get to sleep, then there may be other things at play. And you need to probably make some tweaks to help you get to sleep within those 20 minutes. We also think that we need to get a good solid 8 hours of sleep, when actually it varies for everybody. It's thought that between 7 to 9 hours is a good amount of sleep to get. Below 6 hours, it's believed that there is an increase in risk of different diseases, but that's just an increase of risk. But the same is also true for getting kind of more than 10 hours of sleep. Your risk for developing certain diseases increases. So getting between 7 and 9 hours is kind of the sweet spot for the majority of people. There are some people who need a bit less, and there are some people that need a little bit more, but that is quite rare. So between the 7 and 9 is a real sweet spot. And the way to work out how much sleep you actually need is on a normal day when you don't feel particularly exhausted, you're also not hardly doing anything. So just kind of on a normal average day, you go to bed at the time that you would normally go to bed, and you don't set an alarm in the morning, and just see when you wake up. And I don't mean when you get out of bed, I mean when you actually wake up in the morning, to the point where you could actually get up at that point. That's a good indicator of how much sleep you might need on an average day. The other thing is that we also think that getting up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, or just because we wake up, means we've not had a good night's sleep. Again, that is not true. So we work in sleep cycles, as you're probably aware, and they run between 90 and 110 minutes. It's different for everybody. And after every single sleep cycle, we wake up. Might be for a minute, might be for 2 minutes. Sometimes we know about it, sometimes we don't, and it's 100% normal to wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. In terms of getting up and going to the toilet, what happens at that point, we've not woken up because we need to go to the toilet. We need to go to the toilet because we've woken up in the middle of the sleep. at the end of a sleep cycle, and so we've woken and our body's in a quick scan and thought, could do with emptying the old bladder, we'll go to the toilet. You would have woken within that sleep cycle anyway, at the end of that sleep cycle. So actually getting up, going to the toilet, lying back down, going back to sleep again, because we know it doesn't matter that we woke up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet because it was the end of the sleep cycle, is 100% normal and will not affect your quality of sleep. The other thing is that we think we can catch up on sleep, and to a certain extent that is true in terms of how we feel. But when we start thinking about different things such as hydration, what our body is doing when we're asleep and that kind of stuff, which we'll touch on a little bit later, it's not always possible to catch up on sleep in a way that is beneficial for our bodies. And then we also think about things like sleeping tablets and alcohol. Sleeping tablets are a great kind of very, very short-term fix for something like the onset of insomnia. But they're definitely not something to take long-term at all. And alcohol, we've always thought of something that helps us drift off to sleep, you know, having that nightcap. But actually alcohol is very detrimental to good quality sleep. I'll talk a little bit later about the different stages of sleep, but alcohol jumps those stages and it can actually disrupt your sleep quite a lot because of jumping stages. So they're just some of the myths, the kind of the main myths that we think about when it comes to sleep, that we have only slept well if we've done those things. And we also think that what we do in the evening and during the night is what affects our sleep and what makes sure that we have a good night's sleep. And actually what you do first thing in the morning when you get up will affect your quality and how well you sleep more than anything else. And again, we'll touch on that a little bit later.